Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, and we will admit people as they come in. Let me just get organized. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Nikki Wiesenfeld. I am a Global Strategic Partnerships Manager here at Tablet and the Michelin Guide, and I'm so excited to welcome you to this session and to Travel Week if it's your first session with us. We're really excited to have you join us today. This is the second iteration of this event, which we kicked off in May 2022. And a few things have happened in the world since then. So we're excited to be with you again to kind of process it all. We originally conceived Travel Week as a forum to connect with our hotel partners on a larger global level. And even though our team is back on the road and meeting with hotels in person again, we really believe that there's still value in bringing our larger community of hotel partners together in one place to really engage and interact with us and with each other and to get a wider view of how our business works. So you, the hotels in our selection, are in essence the foundation of this mission, of our mission. You represent the very best in the world of hospitality, and it's the goal of our team to work with you as closely as possible to achieve our mission. To really give our clients an incredible experience, to promote your hotels, and to bring you more bookings. As always, we hope that you'll take away from this event the idea that being part of Tablet and the Michelin Guide hotel selection means being a part of something bigger. We really want you to understand what you're getting out of this partnership and what you can put into it. So before we get started on our presentation, we have a special treat. Tablet's CEO, Lucy Lieberman, is here to say hello and welcome you to the session as well.
Nikki, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. We're thrilled that you can participate in Travel Week 2023. I thought it would be good to just take a couple minutes and reiterate that you are our valued partners in curation, in the pursuit of better travel, and in providing this really unparalleled experience for our mutual clients. We ask that you think of us as more than just an OTA. We are really dedicated to connecting you to the most discerning travelers around the world who really understand and appreciate what you have, the extraordinary places that you open your doors to. So please take pride in your inclusion in the Michelin Guide, inclusion in Tablet selection. We consider ourselves real standards of quality and excellence. And also, please engage with us, with Nikki and the team. We believe in you and in bettering our partnership together. So thanks again. Enjoy this session. Enjoy the rest of the week, and please stay in touch.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thanks.
All right. So last year, our Travel Trends and Data Insights was our most popular session, and we believe that this year will be no different. We know 2023 was an unpredictable year for the world and for the travel industry. Revenge travel, as a result of pent-up demand from the pandemic, continues to spike in some regions, but larger uncertainties in the world, like wars and inflation and political instability, have had an impact on hotel bookings and traveler behavior. Even in the midst of this ambiguity, we've been able to dig into our own data, plus some macro industry data as well, to identify some concrete insights and trends about search and booking behavior and what we're expecting and planning for 2024. So to break all of this down for you, I'm really excited to introduce Michelin and Tablet's business analyst and my friend, Percy Tasharwa. And he's going to kick off the presentation. There will be time for questions at the end of the session, but please feel free to raise your hand and leave any questions you might have in the chat box, and we'll be able to answer them when we're able to. So Percy, you can go ahead and get started.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nikki, for that kind introduction. And thank you everyone who is with us today. This is a really exciting time for us as Tablet and Michelin Guide. So without further ado, let's dive in. So in the next 40 minutes or so, our goal will be first to understand this year's emerging trends by closely analyzing who our customers are and their booking behavior. And then we're going to explore what sets Tablet and Michelin Guide apart from its competitors. And finally, we'll discuss what to expect in 2024 and how you, our hotel partners, can best leverage these trends. Okay, so everyone buckle in. So we're going to begin by looking at the major themes and some of the big ideas that our internal research uncovered in 2023. The 4 things that we were able to pull from this year's data was, the first thing is international travel continues to increase. And this is no news to anyone, but hotel rates have really soared and they've remained high all throughout this year. And then online booking and OTAs continue to remain strong. And then finally, we're going to talk about how now more than ever, consumers are traveling with a purpose.
Hey, Percy, I just want to interrupt you real quick. I am not seeing your screen, so I'm not sure if you're
Oh, I am sharing.
presenting.
Okay, let me see what. I see what looks like when we changed control, we were not sharing. Just 1 second. Here we go.
Are you, if you're having an issue, maybe?
I think there we go. Can you all see this?
Yes. Now I can. Yes, thank you.
All right. So yeah, like I mentioned before, so in the next 40 minutes or so, we're just going to go through basically understanding this year's emerging trends by closely analyzing who our customers are and their booking behavior. And then we're going to explore like what sets Tablet apart from its competitors. And then finally, we'll discuss what to expect in 2024 and how you all can leverage these trends. Okay. So we identified 4 big ideas based on our research internally that are going to be essentially the main topics of how users are booking on our site. The first one is that we've noticed that international travel continues to increase, and then that hotel prices have been the highest we've seen. And then thirdly, online bookings and OTAs continue to remain strong. And then finally, we're going to talk about how consumers are traveling with a purpose. So let's begin by looking at where travelers were interested in going to. So as we all know, the initial part of planning a trip starts from the point of inspiration, where someone is inspired on where they would like to travel to. So for us, we decided to look into what users were actually searching when they were thinking about travel. We identified 4 regions where most of our users are concentrated, which is New York, California, England, and France. And we're able to just dig a little deeper into seeing what areas these people were interested in traveling to. And basically what to take away from the map that you're seeing here is that in 2023, we just saw a strong interest in traveling to Asia from all the 4 regions that I mentioned earlier. And Asia, and most of that also comes from the fact that, for example, places in Japan removed any restrictions on visas. So travel is open very much so in Asia, and we can see that people were very much interested in traveling there. When we looked at New Yorkers in particular, there was a strong interest in traveling to the south of Europe, including Asia, like I mentioned. And for Californians, Southeast Asia was definitely high up on their places of interest. And then when we looked at Dubai, the unique behavior when we looked at England, the unique behavior we saw was a lot of users were definitely searching for travel to Dubai. And then lastly, when we looked at French users, the Southeast Asia region was very high up in terms of like interest. And this is not to say these are the only regions that people were traveling to, but what we were trying to identify is areas that were notable search behavior that was different from what we had experienced in the pandemic going into like 2022. So this is not to say that New York City, LA, or Mexico City, which are some of our biggest markets in terms of bookings, that people aren't traveling there. This is more to essentially look at this difference in search behavior around users in 2023.
Yes, and just to give a quick plug for the rest of Travel Week, which is completing tomorrow, we are going to be holding some sessions that will dig in on more data from some individual regions. So knowing that our travelers are, or knowing that, search trends are sort of rising in international travel, we are going to dig in on Southern and Northern Europe. So please feel free to join those sessions. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but one fun little tidbit from those sessions are that the searches on our site for Northern Europe, on our site for Northern Europe, are up 44% over 2019. And for Southern Europe, they're up 13% over 2019. So our data really kind of complements this Google search data as well, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when we look at other indicators, like I'm going to talk about here next. So we also wanted to kind of like look at other data points that basically kind of confirmed this behavior. So we looked at US citizen departures, and we're using US users as a proxy for all of our users that are on our site. And when you notice, and what you can notice is that 2023, in terms of like flights to international region, is the highest even since the pandemic. So we're outpacing 2022 and 2019. And what's interesting even about this is the fact that 2023 is outpacing last year, which if we can go back to that time, everyone was talking about revenge travel. So we can see that the trend of people wanting to go further and further away from their home bases was definitely solidified in like 2023. And if you look on the right there, it shows the proportion of bookings that are coming from intercontinental and continental booking types. So what that means is the majority of our users were basically users that were actually booking international travel. Okay. And moving forward, I think this has been one of the biggest topics when it comes to travel in 2023, and it's the talk about where hotel rates have been this year, even starting from last year. We covered locations that people were traveling to and that they were interested in. Now, if we look at it, you can definitely see how travel demand has caused like hotel rates to increase specifically this year. And we're going to touch on basically how these rates are impacting our users. Okay. So there's definitely an impact in how people think about travel when they consider where rates are currently. What you're looking at here on the left is a survey that was conducted by Scanner, which is the third-party travel site that basically asked users if their travel plans will be impacted by rising prices. And you can see that the majority overwhelmingly said yes, which is no surprise there for us, because when you look on the right, we can see where hotel rates have been in 2023, slightly outpacing what we saw in 2022 even. And I just wanted to even talk about the fact that what we were able to see internally is that this data is not saying that people aren't traveling. However, what it's actually pointing to is just that the way that people think about travel has definitely slightly shifted. For us, some of the things that we noticed is that users that were typically booking multiple trips per year are kind of like thinking more about choosing one dream vacation. And then also even the mindset around travel, where users are thinking very intently about what they're getting for what they're paying for.
Right. Like people might be going to different destinations where their currency is stronger, or, you know, like you said, taking just one big trip instead of multiple smaller trips. They're really, it seems like they're adjusting their behavior to really get the most out of that travel experience.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that point as well, Nikki, is that there's very much a behavior that we noticed even among US travelers of trading in domestic travel for international travel. So if people were thinking about doing more domestic travel, they scaled a little bit back on the domestic in order to spend on that like one big trip to somewhere in Europe or somewhere in another continent.
Exactly.
So now we're going to talk about, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk and take a look at the customer segment that has remained very resilient in the face of these high hotel rates. And that's affluent users or affluent customers. And that also happens to be the bread and butter for Tablet. So with affluent users, one thing that we've noticed with our wealthier customers is that they are more likely to book travel online. We are seeing that in general, wealthier users are actually way more inclined to book online compared to users of lower incomes. We talk about this in a few minutes, but most of the good thing for us is that most of the Tablet and Michelin Guide users are high net worth individuals. So this pertains to us as we know we're meeting that demand.
Yeah, and I think it's good to point out here that, you know, conventional wisdom may say that a luxury traveler who is planning a big vacation, you know, they may not want to book online. They might want to use a travel advisor or someone offline to help them. But this is really showing that these travelers are really turning to trusted online sources to book their travel, which is really, really fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to double click on that a little bit, I wanted to basically show the internal data that we were able to gather that showed that for us, we're seeing an increase in bookings that are booked on our mobile platforms. And as an OTA, it's so important to have a good mobile platform, because as we all know, mobile usage is skyrocketing as more and more people are actually using their mobile apps for browsing and even going as far as booking hotels. So year over year, we are seeing our mobile web percentile of bookings increasing. And this is important to us because if you look at the next slide, you will see that our actual customer base at Tablet skews more younger, with 42% of our users between the ages of 18 and 34. And when you double click on these users, one thing we have noticed is that Gen Z users are the fastest growing segment for us. So it's important to note that as Gen Z users gain purchasing power, that we'll have to understand how these users behave and what they expect. And what's exciting for us is just knowing that we're going to have these customers for a long while since we're getting them when they're young.
Yeah, and Percy, I think it kind of relates back to the previous slide as well. It kind of goes without saying that Gen Z, millennials, younger users really want convenience. And for them, that means mobility. You know, they're using their phones for work and communication, drawing inspiration from social media apps. And it really makes sense that they would also want that seamless kind of booking experience and to be able to book on their phones as well.
Yeah, and Nikki, just to even add to that point, one thing that we were able to even notice in our internal research was people spend about a month in the inspiration and research phase of their booking of their travel planning. So most of that is actually done on mobile devices. Before they decide to book, they could spend like up to a month just basically going through hotels and looking at where they would like to stay.
That's amazing. I love that.
So now we're going to talk about an interesting trend that we noticed in 2023, which is that we are seeing the rise of meaningful travel. A lot of our customers, even industry-wide, are basically looking to travel with a purpose. So what does that mean? For high-income earners, which make up the biggest segment for our customers, we notice that they are the adventurous type that are focused on wellness. The most important things that they have acknowledged as being important to their travel is sustainability, is exceptional service and the quality of the places that they stay, wellness, and then also food and cultural experiences. For us, one of the things that basically jumps up to us is the fact that, for example, in this survey, 79% of respondents said that local culinary experiences are a priority when traveling. So if you can think about how that marries with Tablet and Michelin, where Michelin provides the restaurant and the gastronomy part of the offering, and then hotels provide the excellence in the stays as well as attention to detail for our users. You can see how we are very much aligned with what our users are looking for. So what we wanted to do here was to kind of identify, to dig deeper into what we see from the Tablet Missing Guide user profile and dig deeper into what that behavior translates to. What we've noticed is, like I said before, our customers are higher income customers. And for us, what this translates to is that they will always pay more for highly rated hotels. They spend a lot of time planning their trip. And this is actually what we feel is the new age traveler who is very considerate about where they're going to stay, right? And for us, we can see that they also enjoy looking and finding new places and going on trips. The other thing for us was that they care a lot about the hotel experience itself, right? They don't just think about a hotel as a place to sleep when they're traveling, right? Very much the hotel stay is very big part of the overall trip. And they're also experience seekers. They're not value seekers. So they prefer to try new things with different brands.
Sorry, Percy.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
We're always saying our users are really special, and I feel like this slide kind of illustrates that. You know, like you said, they care about where they stay. They will pay more for an amazing experience, and that kind of goes into some, you know, the trend of traveling with a purpose, and people are willing to invest more in experiences over things, and take special occasion trips trips and all of that. So, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but also planning trips around dining experiences. And obviously our users are very keyed into food and cooking and Michelin restaurants. So.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to even add on top of that is that this is definitely a phenomenon we saw with post-pandemic, even around just this intrigue in sustainability and incorporating it into like how people travel as well. So it's basically all encompassing in the way that our users think about where they're going to travel to. So we then wanted to just pivot a little bit and talk about what makes Tablet Michelin different. We've already talked about how wonderful our client base is and why it's one of the biggest reasons why we're different from other OTAs. But we also wanted to point out a few other aspects of our business that make us stand out in a very saturated market. And looking at the OTA world, we know that it's quite fragmented with many companies competing for share in the travel booking market. And when you look at even the makeup of the overall industry, you can see how it's dominated by Booking, Trivago, Airbnb, and Expedia. And for these sites, curation is not at the heart of their mission. Unlike Michelin Tablet, curation is the linchpin of everything that we do. Our goal is not trying to be the Booking.coms or the Expedias of the world. We're much more focused on quality and the quality of the experience for the guest. And knowing that our customers are willing to pay more for an exceptional experience, that is what drives us. At times, this can be misinterpreted as Michelin Tablet customers are not sensitive to prices. However, for us, what we have noticed is that price comparison is very much a part of the travel planning experience, regardless of what category the user is. What excites us is the fact that we know that though we capture a small volume of room nights booked throughout the global industry. Our bookings are at 2 to 3 times the ADR. So this again goes to show that our users are very much considerate about how they would like to spend, as long as they're able to find the properties that meet their needs. So 2023 is a very exciting time for us here at Tablet and Michelin Guide, because it is the beginning of the next era of Michelin Guide. Other than high ADR, Michelin has the food component. So unlike any other OTA, Michelin has gained a reputation for being a trustworthy brand for more than 100 years. And this is very much in line with what we shared earlier about what users are seeking in their travel planning and in their trips. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about how our synergy with Michelin, how the Tablet and Michelin Guide synergy works. The Michelin Guide covers restaurants and hotels. And with these two verticals, when users search for restaurants, we're able to expose them to restaurants, and vice versa. When users are searching for hotels, they're also exposed to like restaurants. And it gets better because these two searches are happening at different frequencies and different times. So one of the most important things if you're a digital platform is how to retain users. And what makes this interesting is that we know that hotels are a low frequency and high revenue model, whereas restaurants are high frequency and low revenue model. So as people continue to search for restaurants and spend more time on our platform, using our restaurant platform, then when it comes to the time when they decide to book a trip, they are already a part of the ecosystem. So they don't have to go anywhere else because that is already provided for them. So this is how us and Michelin Guide work well together.
Yeah, this is kind of really the whole strategy, right? We're capturing users on a regular basis when they come to us for the food component, for the gastronomy, and then they will keep us in mind when they're travel planning and when they want to book hotels. And we're really the only OTA that has that food component. And of course, the Michelin name is essentially a household name, even in the US, where people may not be as familiar with the story behind the Michelin Guide. Everyone knows what a Michelin-starred restaurant is, and everyone knows that that means quality. And so we're extending that to hotels as well. And that's kind of what gives us an edge, both in user acquisition and engagement, and also in being a trusted source as well.
Absolutely. And even to look into how some of the feedback that we've even gotten from users that have booked on our platform has just been that exact same thing that you just mentioned, is that they trust more because they are already familiar with the Michelin Guide brand and what it means in the world of restaurants. And users aren't necessarily, if they're new users, they're not necessarily scared to try a new brand because they're already familiar with what the Michelin Guide brings.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've covered the major trends, and we've talked about how Tablet Michelin sets itself apart from its competitors. Now we're going to talk about what to expect in 2024. Some of the persistent trends that we are thinking will be long-lasting even beyond this year. So in 2024, we are expecting continued interest in leisure travel. Remote work is here to stay, and we're noticing that a lot more users are planning their trips with work in mind. We're also continuing to see a strong interest in wellness trips and resort stay. International travel, we anticipate that it's going to continue in 2024. Particularly considering what we're seeing in 2023 with users, for example, in the United States. So we're taking advantage of a stronger US dollar. And then flexibility will remain important, especially among our younger travelers. And then we wanted to also talk about how we are going to continue to see short booking windows, and as well as mobile bookings will continue to increase. Then lastly, sustainability is very much a big part of how users are going to continue to make decisions about where they plan on staying, even in the upcoming year.
Yeah, I think overall, like that first point says, based on what we've seen industry-wide and with our own user behavior, travelers are really more than ever valuing their entire experience. So from planning their trip, the inspiration, to booking their room and the actual stay, they really want that experience that actually means something and transforms them. And they want to travel in a way that reinvents themselves. So like you said, wellness, sustainability, local experiences, engaging in community are all going to be big for 2024 and more popular than ever. And for as far as, like you said, international travel, people wanting to get more for their money and possibly going to different, as as we've heard it called, dupe destinations. So
Right.
places where you can get a similar experience for less money, and really that flexibility is going to be so key. We had a panel earlier today with some hoteliers and a travel agent and the CEO of the Plum Guide, which is a home rental company, and one of the hoteliers said that she believes non-refundable rates are a thing of the past.
Wow.
So, I think that is going to be so key going forward, having that flexibility as younger audiences are expecting that and as people just want that in general.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really super interesting. Yeah, and so we have some recommendations for our hotel partners on what to do next with all of the information that we have shared today. So for that, I will turn you over to Nikki.
Yes, thank you. So there's lots of things you can do. One of the biggest questions we get on our team is, how do I get more bookings? How do I get more people to look at my hotel and think about us when they're traveling? And so these are just a few small things that you can do when working with us. So as we have talked about, more users are blending travel and business trips. So, we highly recommend, if you don't already, to add photos of common spaces where travelers can work. I think it kind of goes without saying in this day and age that high-speed Wi-Fi is kind of a must, but we definitely, would like to highlight it if you have it. And also, if you have a great setup for remote work, or that's something that you want to promote, like, make sure we are showing that essentially. If you're enrolled in our Plus program, which if you are, thank you. We highly recommend that you consider offering Plus credits, F&B or spa or parking as one of the privileges for the Plus program. Hotels that offer credits are the ones that convert the most. And this kind of goes along with the ideas behind wellness and traveling for food experiences and all of that. Of course, we would be remiss if we did not talk about parity. We always are wanting to make sure that our hotels that we work with are offering us the best possible rates. We know travelers are comparing prices online. Even if, like Percy said, even if they're willing to spend more, they don't want to spend more than they have to, or they aren't going to spend more on one site over another. So parity is so important. And also flexibility, as I just said, non-refundable rates may be a thing of the past. It's yet to be seen. But so we want to make sure you're offering flexible cancellation policies whenever possible, especially if you have a need period or during low season. So important to have that option available. Highlighting where your property is. So users can get an idea of what the experience will be around the hotel. Again, in that session, we just had the CEO of the Plum Guide let us know that one of the features that they have is an option to see a property and what is within 10 minutes walking distance from that property. And that was the most clicked on feature over photos and amenities and all of that, because people really want to get a feel for where, what's around the property and what the vibe is of the area. So definitely in any way that you can incorporate that, we would recommend it. And then finally, filling out our sustainability assessment by heading to the Tablet Extranet. If you haven't already, this is super important to get your sustainability measures on our site. You get a sustainability icon on your hotel's page once you've completed this. And it's really not, in any way punitive. It's really just a way to let our users know what you're doing, where you are along the sustainability journey. So those are some of our recommendations. If anyone has any questions, can raise your hand now or let us know. Or if you think of something after we say goodbye, you can always send us an email to Hotel Partnerships. And I see Colleen has raised a hand, so let me just I'm going to, let's see. One second, Colleen, I'm going to let you turn on your microphone. Okay, you have your microphone's turned on, so you should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Oh, there it is. Okay, great. I was just typing it. Thank you so much for your presentation. That was so helpful. I had a question specifically about, the trends we're seeing towards wellness and experiences when people are traveling. Have you noticed with ADR growth sort of plateauing, more hotels adding things like resort fees? Like how many of your hotels have those included in the rate? And what is the general reaction from, our mutual guests to things like resort fees? I know there's been a lot of press about it this fall, and just sort of curious.
That's a great question. I would say anecdotally, I can't speak for, the exact numbers. I have seen a trend, especially not necessarily this year, but since the beginning of the pandemic. I've seen a trend of more hotels adding resort fees or amenities fees, facilities fees, things like that. I don't know. I can't speak to the reaction. I haven't heard anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that people aren't upset about it or that they haven't made comments about it. We can look into it and get back to you on that specifically, Colleen. I don't know, Percy, if you have heard any, if you have any like insight to that.
Yeah, so some of our research is just pointing to the fact that for now, since it's something that is relatively new, that it's sort of like become kind of like a differentiator actually that users are thinking about when they decide how much they want to pay for their travel. So I think it'll be good to actually do a deep dive analysis on this, but it just general reactions has just been that we've seen that for some users, they definitely take it into consideration and they are thinking about places that don't necessarily have resort fees.
Right. It's kind of like, I mean, I know that there's even been talk about like legislation to eliminate surprise fees or things like that. I would say it's not at the level, from what I've seen, of sort of the vitriol that maybe home rental sites get for cleaning fees or airlines get for additional fees. I have not seen it like rise to that. But it's definitely, yeah, like Percy said, I would not be surprised if it was a factor in how people determine where they're going to go, because it really ultimately it does all add into the total amount that you're paying, right? So
yeah. And I think it also comes back to the point that we mentioned earlier, just about expectation around what the user now expects the minute that they start to see like things like additional fees. So yeah, it's worth noting. Yeah.
They want to know what they're getting out of it,
right.
And what they're paying for exactly. And I think for some of our clients, maybe they've stayed at a hotel multiple times and then suddenly they're staying again and they're paying that fee for something they've had before. So it can be a little confusing, but yeah, I think just being upfront about it and making sure it's clear what they're getting out of it is the most important thing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's super helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, that was a great one. Something I hadn't considered too much. So now I'm excited, Percy, we can do. Like
yeah, absolutely. I just thought about that.
Yeah. So if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to email us. And thank you again for taking the time to be here and to listen to us. We really, as I said before, we really do value our partnerships with our hotels and with you. And we're just really grateful to be working with you. So thanks again, Percy.
Yeah, thanks
for all
everyone.
your work. And have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.